All right. Well, welcome back to the Realm of History. Tonight, we actually have a really special live review. It is the final live review of the semester. And this is going to be for Chapter 17, which is the last quiz paper of the semester as well. So, you really want to make sure that you get um, locked in, as you might say, or being here now for this last quiz. A couple of things. Check in with me in the comments. Let me know that you're here. I love the support, and numbers are looking pretty low today, but hopefully we can get on track for tomorrow's quiz. One of the key things that I did want to talk about, as usual, is hey, what is some key advice, right? So we'll take a look at the live agenda tonight. We're going to be doing key advice, selected key terms, figures, places, uh, briefly talk about some of the short answer possibilities. And we're not going to do key textbook pages tonight, but we'll do question and answer session. Number one thing, I really still strongly believe that writing things down from this session is very helpful. I would, of course, read your notes several times through. Your outlines are really imperative to your success. And then, of course, complete your review sheet and then use your review sheet to quiz yourself. Number two, and probably the most important thing right now, pray for the right things, right? I don't think that we should really be praying for success on this quiz paper or even on the midterm examination, but rather just saying thank you to the good Lord for all the blessings and gifts and talents that we've received from Him. And also, I think what's key is that we ask for guidance to use our talents to the fullest. I think those are really great things to pray for in any situation. But I do not suggest praying for good scores here. Let's think about all those people who are out there that also need our prayers, who are less fortunate, who aren't in the situation that we are to be maybe worrying about a quiz, right? So we got to put things into perspective there. Number three, we got to be here now. That's our motto, right? I think right now is what be here now is all about. Getting ready for the midterm, getting ready for the quiz paper, doing our due diligence, right? Balancing a lot of different things going on at this time of the year. So, hey, I'm here to help you tonight. But being here now, making sure we're focusing on the task at hand, so important. When you come in tomorrow, pop in history, right? Pop in history. During this session, pop in history. Number four, say thank you to your parents. You know what I mean? Like, you got to remember to express gratitude to your parents because you are here in this position because most likely of their sacrifices. So I, as a parent, have learned that over the years. Uh, I'm blessed to be a parent for 14 years today. So today is when I became a father 14 years ago. So it's such a blessing. But I think you got to remember all the sacrifices that your parents make for you. Finally, number five, you know that we're going to give you a challenge tomorrow. You know it's going to be a challenge one way or the other. So you got to rise to the occasion, right? Don't be a Skipper McGee tomorrow. Don't be a Skipper McGee. Make sure you're here. Take the quiz. Get that. And we've had a lot of Skipper McGee's lately. I know that there's sickness going around, but if you're in the boat where you're not sick and you're skipping, you're going to qualify for a different version, probably a more difficult version of the quiz. That's just going to have to be the way it is. That's the only way I can keep it fair for those who came and took the quiz on time. But if you can show up, if you show up and you be here now, you're going to be in a great situation. You're going to be in a great situation. Okay. I think next we're going to get into our selected key terms and figures and concepts, right? So let's get to that next. Most of them are terms, but we will talk about some of the figures and the concepts as well. The first one, really big picture part of what we've been learning about in the Renaissance and the Reformation as well, secular. This secular idea, this worldly focus, right? Focus on non-religious and material things. During the Renaissance, merchants and wealthy families, such as the Medici family, they started to buy luxury items. Luxury items are like things that you don't necessarily need to survive, right? When people are buying luxury items, it means they have excess money, but it also means that their focal point is not really on religious ideas, trying to gain pleasures from other areas. The printing press was a huge invention, right? Johann Gutenberg in 1543 led to the mass production of books, which created kind of a domino effect. Books became cheaper due to their supply being greater and the demand being high. Um, and then you also saw that because books were more affordable, more people were able to buy them, which gave people more of an incentive to read. Prior to this, the vast majority of people in Europe, at least, were illiterate. They could not read or write. The printing press changes the game in that department. A lot of religious denominations that we talk about in this chapter. Presbyterians from section 4, these are followers of the Christian reformer John Knox, who was from Scotland. It's a version of Calvinism. Calvinism was very strict. There was something called merrymaking, and Presbyterian and Calvinists, they were against merrymaking. Merrymaking would be like singing or dancing in public, wearing bright clothes like orange and yellow, stuff like that were banned. You weren't supposed to be drawing attention to yourself, right? You're supposed to be giving your attention to Jesus and God and things of that nature. So anything that drew attention to yourself was kind of frowned upon in the Calvinist and the Presbyterian world. So Calvinism is a key term. One you want to think about here is that it's also a Protestant faith. It's founded by John Calvin, and they believed in the concept of predestination, where there was something called the elect, where only a certain few individuals were destined to go to heaven or predetermined to go to heaven. Next are the Jesuits. The Jesuits were a Catholic religious order which were focused on educating the youth and founded by Ignatius of Loyola. That's Saint Ignatius today. He was a Spanish priest and theologian. Jesuits today are still around. For example, the school UAD Jesuit, they are formed by the Jesuit priests with a goal of educating youth. Right? Another Protestant denomination here is the Anabaptists. The Anabaptists were a Protestant faith. They believe that only adults who can choose their religious path should be baptized. So they were saying, yeah, most Christians are baptized when they're babies, right? Okay. But they're saying that they don't believe that you should be baptized until you can actually choose to be baptized. That's one of the big foundational principles of the Anabaptist movement. Next are humanism or humanists. This is an intellectual movement that focused on human potential and achievement, led to many subjects that we study in school known as the humanities subjects, like things that humans can do: art, speech, right? Writing, history. Those are all subjects that came out of the humanities. Next is a key figure, Desiderius Erasmus. Erasmus was a Christian humanist, taught that people should aim to be Christians of the heart and not so focused on ceremonies and rules. He also urged Christians to study the Bible, right? So these are some of the early calls for early people who called for reform and change in the religious world. Next is the term Protestantism or Protestant. Protestantism or Protestants, these are Christian faiths that do not follow the Pope's authority and are not Catholic. There's a key chart to study on page 491. So Protestants, they were protesting the Catholic Church. That's where the word comes from. Eventually, the Protestant Reformation led into a major war. The war was known as the Peace of Augsburg. It's a peace agreement that actually ended the religious fighting in Germany, which was at that point called the Holy Roman Empire, by allowing princes to decide the religious practices within their territory. So there were Catholic princes in German territory. There were Protestant princes. After the Peace of Augsburg, they could decide the faith of the territory that they controlled. That's the ideology there. All right, working our way on down, we have a key term called the Act of Supremacy. Henry VIII, he tried to divorce his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, and he tried to get his marriage annulled. The Catholic Church did not allow it at that time. Pope Clement said no. And then he separated from the Catholic Church and tried to force all of the people in England to take an oath, which was the Act of Supremacy, that he was the head of the church in England and not the Pope. He does get this ratified by Parliament, but Catholic Church was not going for this. And one of the key Christian humanists, Sir Thomas More, the author of Utopia, he spoke out and was trying to say this is not right. He wouldn't swear to the oath. And because of that, he was executed. Henry had him executed, essentially, because he would not swear to the Act of Supremacy. Next is a Renaissance man, right? We talked a lot about what is a Renaissance man, a universal man, a well rounded individual, a master of all areas of study. We even thought about some examples of kids who might qualify as a Renaissance man today. Next, we'll take a look at what are patrons. Patrons are supporters of artists, right? Buying their materials, taking care of them, giving them an art studio, supporting them, maybe spreading the word, getting people to buy their artwork. Those were patrons. You had to have a lot of wealth to be a patron of the arts. So, kings, queens, the church, those would be some of the individuals that would be the patrons of the arts. All right. I'm going to get to the questions in a moment, but I do want to talk about a couple of the short answer questions. So let's take a look at these. Um, Obviously, Thomas More, he had a book called Utopia, which was really meant to say, like, is there a perfect place in the world? Like a place with no money, no greed, no corruption, right? That's what the book Utopia was about. How did the Renaissance spread to the north, right? We talked about that war in southern Italy that caused a lot of those Renaissance artists from Italy to move north and bringing with them their techniques, their artistic styles, cultural diffusion taking place, right? Machiavellian ethics, huh? Nikolai Machiavelli, right? He wrote a book called The Prince, and in that book, he advised rulers to pretty much do whatever was effective. Don't worry about what is essentially morally right, but rather just do what's politically effective. So he argued that, hey, if you have to lie, cheat, steal, do bad things, as long as you keep power, then he said, go for it. And so today we say Machiavellian ethics are anything deceitful or crafty that people might do to gain their own advantage. So if you cheat on tests, that's Machiavellian. It's not very good. I do not endorse it. Let's see. Why did the region of Italy become the birthplace of the Renaissance? Well, a lot of key city states, right? A wealthy merchant class was key because you needed money to buy the artwork and spread that ideology. And then number three, as I said in the notes, the proximity or closeness to the ruins of ancient Rome and Greece. So you could study what the Romans and Greeks did right in your backyard, essentially. All right, some of the bigger picture short answers, like the Medici family, how did they come into power? You're going to want to know that. Major criticisms of the church during the Reformation. A lot of the criticism pointed at leadership, the level of pope, cardinal, bishop, priest, sale of indulgences, right? Those are some of the things that you're going to want to know there. And then, of course, the three teachings of Martin Luther. I mean, we got to know this. Number one, he said you can gain salvation through faith alone. Catholic Church taught you have to have, or teaches still, that you have to have faith, but also do good deeds or good works. So there was a difference there. Number two, Luther said all church teaching should be clearly based on the words of the Bible. And then number three, he says all people under the faith are equal, and therefore you don't really need priests to interpret the Bible for you. So those are Luther's three main teachings. You're going to want to be able to, of course, list and explain those. And then as I've been talking all chapter long, I didn't write it on the review sheet, right? Because I mean, we would talk about it pretty much every day, knowing some of the key Renaissance artists. I said, remember the Ninja Turtles, because they're named after the four most famous Renaissance artists. But yeah, you're going to want to know that information in depth. Okay, I think that is what I wanted to talk about tonight. I want to open up for questions. I'm going to go to the question and answer session here. We'll get to the comments. We have 41 comments. So let's see. We got a lot of key ballers here. Thank you for being here, everybody. I do really appreciate you attending. All right, I'm just looking for some key. We got Uncle Lango here. I like that. Very nice. Okay, thank you for checking in with me, everybody. Really appreciate all of you. Let's see. I'm just looking for some real questions. I see Trapper John is in here. I don't know what this Silverado stuff is. I don't drive that kind of car. Okay, we got a question here. What's the meaning of the two categories of the short answers? Are those different types? Also, how many short answers will there be? So, one of the key things that we have here is, of course, the fact that when I wrote this review sheet, I was going to think that we're going to have an AP portion, but nonetheless, just combine those two categories. The short answer is just kind of extended down there. Those are just some other options. I would say, like the first short answer, expect those three to definitely be on there. And then that second section of short answers that says AP short answer slash essay, maybe a couple of those to be on there too. I would say, I would say that there'll be 5 to 6 short answer questions on tomorrow's assessment or quiz, as we call them. Medici family. So when we think about the Medici family, very, very important Italian merchants. They started off as a wool producing family, and then they took that money and invested it into banking. So they came to be like the first Italian family that controlled banks, and they were loan sharks, and they were into the first kind of mafia schemes in Italy. So they became very powerful in that regard and used their power and influence to sway not only political opinion, but also get some of their family members into religious powerful positions as well. I don't know where that's coming from. Yeah, I don't drive a truck. I drive a Buick. Yeah, no doubt about it. Two factors here. Number one, knowing their names. And then number two, I'd say some of the artwork that's mentioned in the reading, the text, and some of the artwork that I went over today, but I don't really think that you're gonna have to talk about specific pieces of art, rather like more like the style of art, realism, right? Portraits, paintings, oil-based paint, like knowing those type of key things that I went over in the notes would be really, really a good way to go about it. Yes. So, yes, you got to know there's going to be some true and false on this bad boy. Yes. Emmy the Shade, that is going to be, so that is Thomas More, Sir Thomas More. Correct. Yeah, no AP portion on the quiz tomorrow because we just took the LEQ, which is going to count kind of like as those 10 points for the AP portion. All right, I'm making my way down the list here. Yeah, I mean they owned banks throughout most of Europe, France, Spain, England, Holy Roman Empire. How did Machiavelli spread throughout Europe? Is that Medici or Machiavelli? If it's Machiavelli, his book was taken up by the printing press and it was spread around. So many rulers in different parts of Europe were able to know Machiavellian ideologies because of that. Well, I like my license plate. It's classic. It's historic, but I like that too. Exactly what we talked about in the notes. If you know everything that's in the notes, you're in good shape. Like the way that I taught it is the way that I will assess it. Just making my way down the list here. So the concept of the individual is basically the idea of what could one person do, right? And this idea of secularism during the Renaissance, that became sort of an idea of focusing on what you can do. Can you make money as a merchant? And not so much focus on like doing everything for the religion, doing everything for the church. So people started to get this secular idea, which led into the concept of the individual and what could one person accomplish for themselves. So it kind of became a selfish ideology rather than a community-based ideology, which was feudalism. People moving out of feudalism become more individualistic, more self-aware. Could be both, definitely knowing the artists themselves, the Ninja Turtle names is going to be key. Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael. But yeah, the style of art, that could definitely be put into a short answer or a multiple choice or a matching. So knowing that's not going to hurt you. Most important thing to know about Henry VIII in the concept of the Protestant Reformation is how he separated from the Catholic Church. Why he separated, because he was seeking a male heir to the throne. So that's why he wanted to divorce his first wife. And that's why he kept trying to get rid of wives that couldn't supply him a son. That was his big picture goal, was to have a son so he could extend his throne and pass his family line down. And in doing so, he had to separate from the Catholic Church to get his own parliament to legitimize his divorce from Catherine of Aragon. So that's really the big picture ideology there. This was in section 1 and 3, right? 1 and 3, a little bit of section 2, but for the most part, one of the key things that you're going to want to know here is that they said that popes were corrupt, popes were spending money on art, being patrons of the arts, popes were getting involved in wars. They were arguing that the priests were poorly educated, some priests were married, the selling of indulgences. Those are some of the major criticisms that the church faced during this time period. So if you're talking about the Medici family, they spread throughout Europe based on their banking business and based on the mafia style loan sharking and other mafia things that they were doing, but mostly through the banks. That's really how they gained wealth and power. And then what they would do is they grew their family, and they'd send family members to kind of like the leaders of banks in certain parts of Europe. And so that's how they spread their influence out of Italy. Yeah, I mean, you need to know everything that was covered in the notes, because that's really what caused the Protestant Reformation, right? Is his viewpoints and his speaking out against the church. On the review, what Mary is it talking about? Okay, let me just look to just make sure. Okay, so that would be Mary. That would be King Henry and Catherine, his first wife's daughter. So when Henry dies, Mary became the first queen. She was Henry's oldest daughter. So Edward was his son. He died at a very young age. Mary is Henry VIII's oldest daughter. She became the queen next, and she returned England to Catholicism. She has the nickname Bloody Mary because she tried to kind of get rid of Protestants in England. And then when she died, Queen Elizabeth came to power, who was Henry's daughter with his mistress, Anne Boleyn. And so then she became the famous Queen Elizabeth. Edward is the guy I just referenced. That's Henry VIII's son, who died at the age of 15. Okay, it looks like I've answered all of the questions. So at this time, I'll wait for just a few more minutes. If you have any other questions, I would love to answer those for you. What? Aren't you supposed to? What's up?
Oh, I just want to say that tomorrow's quiz is gonna be open note. Okay, I said it.
Why are you saying that?
Because I think that it's my birthday today, and I think that the kids deserve an open note quiz.
Girl, it's past your bedtime. You better go to bed. But
I do not have a bedtime.
All right. Well, thank you I thought you needed my help. All right.
Guys, I just want you to know that I'm the princess of the realm, and I deserve to have a say, and that the quiz will be open note. Okay. And I love you, Leah. I love you so much.
Okay, that's enough. You're hijacking my.
Bye, guys.
All right. Anyway, open note quiz. I don't do that. Um, I guess we can do that tonight. We could do open note quiz tomorrow. That'd be kind of an early Christmas present. But sure, fine. If you guys wanna, if you agree with Ava, we can go ahead and do open note quiz. No problem. Maybe an early Christmas gift. All right. So that should be helpful. So make sure you have your notes ready. But just standard notes. I mean, that would be also open review sheet because they're all tied together. But nonetheless, there you go. So we'll do open note. Can't say no to that one. But nonetheless, have a wonderful night. And if there are any further questions, I will stay on for one more minute. Anything else that I can help with? Spread the word. If somebody's not on, let them know it's open note. But nonetheless, everybody should have their notes anyway. So not that big of a deal. Shoot, golly. All right. Open binder? Just open note, like sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's it. No book. All right. Odd. Okay. All right. I think that's good. I want you guys to have a great night. Make sure you say thank you to your parents. It's really important. And other than that, have a wonderful night. God bless all of you. We'll see you tomorrow for the final quiz of the semester. Peace.